I'm Gwen. I've been going to Iyengar Yoga for I think around probably 3 years now. I have multiple hats. I work in a wine tech company by day. I'm also a certified health coach, and I've also just started a vegan meal delivery service in Hong Kong. So definitely being quite busy as of late. So I spend most of my life working in food and beverage, and it's a very high stress environment. A lot of the times you have very destructive behaviors, substance abuse to name one of many, many destructive behaviors in the industry. And I think a lot of it is also because in food and beverage, you're basically paid to please other people. So you start putting your own self-worth and your own self like care as is no longer a priority. So I was surrounded by that mentality quite regularly, and it was hard to find that balance. So when you start going like entering this vicious cycle, it starts going downhill. So of course I indulged in many of these substances, very, very destructive behaviors, and didn't have a lot of that self-worth, simply because I feel like back then I also didn't have the chance to really breathe and to kind of listen to both my body and mind. As I think with many people, my first encounter with yoga was vinyasa. I remember, I think I was 16, and it was part of a high school program. Every Friday we'd be able to choose which activities we were able to do. And of course, it was the cool thing back then to do yoga. So, okay, sure, I went. And I remember that there was part of me that was like, this doesn't feel right, but there's something to this. And I couldn't pinpoint it. Again, factor in this is more than a decade ago. And I felt like I was on a constant path to finding it. I still remember that the first time I came across Iyengar was, strangely enough, just because of Google Maps. I was working in the same building at my previous job, and I was like, just based on practicality, let's give this a try. So after work, I went in, and I could physically feel myself getting better. I had back problems at the time and some knee issues, and just those small micro adjustments, which you wouldn't get in most other schools of yoga, made such a large difference to me, because I feel like so much of my body had been out of place. I have one vertebrae that used to pop out once in a while, just for fun. So learning how to build the muscles around my spine, around my knees to build strength, all of those helped gradually. And I remember my first class, it was the introductory class with Polina. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I'd been looking for the past decade. So it's always about what intention you go into it with. And, funnily enough, I find a lot of people come to Iyengar to heal their physical ailments, and I'd never heard of Iyengar before I'd actually entered the studio, funnily enough. And it's just been such a great journey. I think my frustrations were definitely in my first 6 months of level 1, where there was a lot of strength building and understanding where my muscles were tight and how far I could actually push myself. So not understanding that I thought I was in a very physically fit place, and not being able to have the strength to be able to hold many of the asanas, it was much more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge, because I'd had a lot of that self-doubt come into my mind, like, why can't I do this? I thought I was stronger than this, versus nowadays understanding part of the journey. I'm like, okay, let's push it a little bit further today. Let's see where it goes. And again, just enjoying more of the silence that comes with the journey of it, versus self-doubt and, just having all of that negative voice inside. So that, I guess, basically, in summary, the toughest part was myself. In terms of Iyengar Yoga and how it fits into my day-to-day life, I mean, as mentioned, I have 3 different jobs, each of which serves me in a very different way in fulfilling what's in my day-to-day life. Iyengar, it's so easy again to get swept up in all of the busyness of life, because I think there's all of this, I don't know what the abbreviations are now, FOMO, YOLO, all of these different reasons that we should be continuously being busy. And sometimes we forget that. And, you know, I would love to go into the studio more, but we always find reasons. And I think a lot of it's just wanting to find reasons to put ourselves as a top priority, because it's, you know, we always say that, okay, well, I need to do this for work, I need to do this, and I should be doing that. I'm like, yes, but it's also only one life to live. So we'll almost never find that balance if we don't give ourselves a chance to. Then again, that being said, balance is something that's a constant, again, another constant journey, something that we have to work very hard to achieve. But I think by having a constant practice, it's definitely something that gets you closer to that goal. I remember I had a very tight ankle in the first few months that I started, and then, you know, I remember it was Victoria, and she was like, Gwen, push through, move your leg like in a certain way, and it was so strange because then a month later, pain that I didn't even realize was there was gone. So it's, I guess, it's a lot of small things over time, but as time has progressed after just practicing for a few years, it's almost like I've started becoming much more mindful of my body and how I move. Even when I stand, you know, Tadasana, like, okay, butt bone down, like tuck it in and everything, even just in a day-to-day when I'm in the middle of meetings. And I can see my boss like look at me readjusting, and he's probably like, what are you doing? Like, just don't mind me. But all of these small things, I think, because I hear all of the instructors like voices in my head, it's just, you know, stand up straighter, but why? It's like, are you getting lazy? And it's finding those small moments to really start taking care of myself, making small adjustments and understanding that, you know, I want to live my best life possible, and using Iyengar as a tool for it, because, yeah, my dream is to live until 100, and then who knows what's going to happen, but let's see. For someone that's down in the moment, I would say focus on surrounding yourself with people that are truly supportive. And this is really rough to say, but that's not always family. Really the people who accept you for who you are, where you are in your journey. Having been through depression myself, it's one of those times in your life where it creeps up on you and you don't realize you're there. And sometimes all you want to do is you want to feel sorry for yourself. And, you know, when you're around people that can negatively affect your mental health, it starts dragging you further down into the rabbit hole. And, you know, finding the motivation to do something. People who are dealing with that fear and what that label holds, then I would also challenge that and say maybe they're not ready to heal. Because until you really accept that you've had depression, that you've had all of these thoughts, then maybe you're not ready to get yourself out of that hole. And depression isn't something that I believe can be solved with medication. It's a lot of mindset shifts. It's not so simple. There's a lot of deep-rooted work that needs to be done. And, you know, I mean, I still remember when I had hit my depression phases and with my attempted suicide, I was on Google and I was looking for help. I didn't know where to find it. Working in food and beverage, it's been such a big part of my life, and I was thinking, how can I have this as part of my life and still be of service? Because I wanted to be of service to people. Side note, I was one of those crazy kids that was trying to get my parents to eat whole wheat bread. They did not like me at that phase of my life, but I still try to do it, not saying I've been successful. But throughout that journey, I then decided, okay, I'm going to take this course and see where it leads me. And after 6 months, the instructors challenged us. They were like, why don't you try finding your own clients and see how it feels? I ended up loving it. Was nervous as heck when I first started, but it ended up being something fantastic, because it was where I was able to work with people who had been through similar experiences that I had and share my knowledge, share my learning techniques. And my main goal in being a health coach was always to make sure that people didn't fall down as far the hole as I had to, and just to kind of, you know, give them a hand before they fall too deep in. So a lot of the time I actually work with people who are in the food and beverage industry simply because I understand their pain points, and you know, I believe there's health coaches for everyone out there, and I don't try to be a general one. So it's a way that I've been able to integrate all of the changes in my life, and just share that with people. And it's actually funny, a lot of the people that have come to me for health coaching are people who have known me from my past life when I was a bit of a mess, to say the least, and they've seen the change happen. So again, send them to just try to get them to practice as many mindful techniques as possible, and to eat better.